They can't all be saved. Welcome to another repair video where I try, once again, to salvage somebody's discarded appliances. Since my repair predictions have been a bit off recently, I'm just going to shut up and give you this voiceover, which has been recorded after attempting this repair. What's that saying about hindsight being 20/20? A friend brought in this big, powerful looking fan to me just under 2 years ago. Nice, big, powerful, and broken. At the time, I remember thinking, this will make a nice repair video someday. Well, that someday is today. Plugging it in again gives the same result as a year and a half ago. The fan hasn't repaired itself over time. I'm just making absolutely certain the extension I'm using actually works. I've noticed the fan's power cable is missing its ground connector. And this is a new project we're working on. I'll get back to that soon-ish. Though ground connectors do occasionally fall out by themselves, more often than not they're pried out by owners who want to connect the appliance in an ungrounded two-prong extension. Have you noticed this thing here? I sure didn't at the time. We'll get back to that later. The protective grille is held in place by several toggle pinchy things. Hard to remove because they're slightly corroded. Sold under the brand name Uberhaus at Rona, their website describes it as a commercial floor fan. 18 inches, base made of steel, reinforced metal grille, 3 speeds, rear control, tilts up to 90 degrees, chrome finish, and that's all the information there is. This item having been discontinued. First screw having been removed, it's time to pull out the mandatory magnetized parts tray. The fan's shaft is really hard to spin. Plugged in once again, I'm hoping giving the blades a little nudge might help it start up again. But not at all. During a recent fan repair, I managed to coax the blades into spinning up again. The problem was the start capacitor. Unplugged, it's safe to get into the fan's control box. Two Phillips screws are all that hold the box to the fan's grille, and 2 zip ties hold down the power cables. The back cover of the control box is thoughtfully held in place by 4 triangular screws, all done with the intention of keeping us consumers safe. And you can't help but admire the evil shittiness that goes into its design and implementation. Once those 4 safety screws have been removed, the back cover pops off. And what do we have here? An 8 microfarad start capacitor. I said I'm not making prediction as to why this fan isn't working, but I can safely bet as to what the problem isn't. This start capacitor. I'm testing to see if power is at least getting to the control. Plug back in, and I'm not getting a reading on my multimeter. Sometimes you can feel a break in the wire or power cable, but rarely in a cable as thick as this one. Still, it's worth checking.
Oh, straight to the face. Let's see that again. Right in the nose.
One way of removing these types of connectors is to compress the internal metal ferrule the opposite direction from which it had been compressed, and then they'll just pop right off. I'm snipping off even more homicidal zip ties, quite nonchalantly, even after what I've already endured. I've completely disconnected the power cable and stripped back the wires just to be absolutely certain there's a problem with this power cable, which still seems improbable. There seems to be a break somewhere, a disconnect, an inability to convey power. It's kaput. I'm using an almost identical power cable, with the exception that this one works. The power cable's negative wire, which fed directly into the fan's selection switch, had been tinned. So I'm fluxing and tinning the new wire. Other wires had been connected with closed end crimps, but I want to try a variation, joining the wires with a square ferrule, just to see how tight the connection can be. I'll need to keep this in mind next time I need a solid, non-soldered connection of this type, and then I can pop on a closed end connector. The other wires get the regular plastic closed end connector treatment. A crimping tool is usually required for this. My square crimper also works with smaller diameter closed connectors. I tested a fine set of crimpers a short while ago, but as is my tradition, I did a giveaway to my subscribers after publication of the YouTube video. New power cable, and the fan seems jammed to the point where it won't turn at all. But the motor is making a horrendous buzz and producing smoke. I unplug the fan once more and reassemble the control box. It's time to take a look at the motor itself. There's one fillet screw securing the blades to the motor shaft. Once that's removed, the blades slide off easily. Next, 4 Phillips screws and nuts hold the motor onto the grate. Then 4 more identical screws hold the halves of the motor casing together. I need to hold the nuts on the opposite side while unscrewing. Vice grips do a fine job of that. A few sharp blows on the end of the shaft usually splits the motor. The inside is dirty, worn and corroded, and squeaky too. I'll sand the flanges to free them up a bit, followed by both ends of the rotor shaft. For the flanges, I'm wrapping some fine sandpaper around the drill bit. For the shafts, same sandpaper, but this time it's wrapped around the shaft as it spins. A bit of spray lube, and the rotor spins freely. Once reassembled and powered, the motor hums angrily, refuses to spin, sparks and smokes. Maybe if I sand some of the corrosion on the inside of the armature, maybe that would help? With the motor opened up, its two halves separated and lacking its rotor, the armature still smokes. Next step, blow debris with compressed air. Now, same result. Something in the armature is burning. The thermal fuses are visible, all tightly bundled on the underside of the armature, and I really don't think a thermal fuse would smoke like that. Preventing overheating and smoke is a thermal fuse's function. Okay. Sometimes you've got to know when to quit. Because there's an awful lot of corrosion inside the motor, and I think I know why. First, it's my buddy Ed who brought this in. Ed had a keen eye for seeing the potential of appliances and just about anything really, which people had discarded by the side of the road or left on their sidewalk. That's a fairly common practice here, as they hope someone might have use for an unused item, or if it's broken, that it might be repaired. Or maybe a picker will hoist it onto the back of their pickup truck for the raw materials, usually metal. Whatever the reasons, there's that slim chance the item in question will be intercepted before the garbage trucks haul it away. And in this particular case, Ed's the one who saved this fan from the scrap heap. Second, Ed lived in Laval, Montreal's sister island, and I think that's where he picked up this fan just under 2 years ago, because third, 2 years ago is when the area was hit by an incredibly violent rainstorm, catastrophically flooding so many basements in Laval. I therefore conclude that this fan was used to help dry out a basement in Laval which had been flooding, explaining the extensive corrosion. Also, furthermore, the owner, in a fit of panic because of the emergency, was using a series of cheap, ungrounded extensions, explaining the missing grounding plug. Also, the owner had medium-length blonde hair and did not use conditioner. Yeah, the plug, the original power cable. I was fascinated by the fact that the ground pin was missing. That wasn't the real problem. Right here at the back, something I hadn't noticed, was a small sliding panel, a little door, and there was a fuse in here, which was blown. Anyway, it probably blew as soon as this thing went wonky. First thing I should have checked, right here, a fuse inside the plug. Fascinating stuff. Now, bye-bye. Close enough.